Good morning, beautiful people. It's Wake Up in the Den. I'm Ku'ule Agbayani alongside Paul Brax on the Hawaii Sports Radio Network. 95.1 FM, AM 760, and HawaiiSportsRadio.com.
Never doubt. I was also tweaking for a moment.
And I'm like, all right, we got to figure it out. And streaming live on our YouTube channel right now, and as we do every single Monday. So thank you guys for tuning in. We got a packed show for you guys coming up today, and a maybe potentially WWE Smackdown-esque kind of show, more so coming up in hour number 2 when Michael Liscaro joins us for hour 2 because, of course, as fate would have it, the Eastern Conference Finals is set with both Paul's and Michael's teams going at it. Now, the game's not until a couple of days, but because we have our YouTube show today, we're like, you know what, we'll start the fireworks today. So the Knicks and Pacers in the Eastern Conference Finals. And we'll get into some more NBA chat coming up a little bit in this hour and some WNBA as it is the first weekend tipped off for the W. Hope you guys were able to tune into some of the fun games. A little bit of fireworks in that game between the Fever and the Chicago Sky as well, as to be expected when there was Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese, part 100 that was coming down there. But no, we'll get into some of that. We'll also give some graduation shout outs to a lot of the University of Hawaii student athletes, get you caught up with some of their degrees. Track and field had themselves a weekend in the Big West Conference Championships for outdoor track and field. And then we got a really fun text message on Friday, and we were saying we're going to talk about it on today's show, which we are. And if you guys want to chime in, please feel free, either on the YouTube chat or texting in at 808-888-KG1. That's 808-888-5481 in our picks for the overall Coach of the Year and Team of the Year for the University of Hawaii this 2024-25 season. And now that all of the regular seasons have wrapped up, as we know, baseball, we'll talk about that in just a second. Their regular season finished yesterday, but fortunately we get a little bit more UH baseball coming up this week. But yes, if you guys want to chime in, I thought it was a fabulous question that a texter sent in. So we are going to talk about our picks for the overall Coach of the Year and Team of the Year. It doesn't have to be the same team and coach from the same program, which mine's, I think I narrowed it down. I was going so back and forth with both. And I'm like, I think I might narrow it down. I might decide right when we start talking about it towards the end of hour number 1. But again, if you guys want to chime in, then feel free to, because we'd love to hear what your thoughts are. All right. Getting to UH baseball. I mean, how about them baseballs, Paul?
Come on.
What a fabulous way to end the regular season. And thank you very much to the Rainbow Warriors for not stressing us out yesterday afternoon. Whew. It would seem like it was going to be a bit of a close one. UC San Diego ended up going first off of a home run. And then it was like, all right, this is going to be a little bit of a tight Okole clenching type of game. But then the third inning happened and Jordan Donahue happened and had himself a game. His first, and like when the Spectrum broadcast said that, I was like, are they serious? But of course, like I don't count that. Like I never think those guys are wrong. So it was just crazy. But it was just crazy to think that that grand slam, not just a home run, but a grand slam by Jordan Donahue, that was his first home run of this season. And then, of course, he had another one, a solo one, a little later in the game.
Just to make sure everybody knew it wasn't a fluke.
So he hit his 2 home runs of the entire season in one game, but his first one of the season came at a grand slam. Again, Hawaii convincing easy, air quote, easy win over UC San Diego.
Ended up being easy.
Yeah, 13-2 to clinch a spot in the Big West Conference tournament coming up this week. And this was, as we were building it up last week, this was the super regional because it was win or go home for both teams. We'll let you hear from head coach Rich Hill in just a little bit. But, I mean, what an exciting game for a lot of fans that were out there. The sold-out crowd this weekend. A good bounce back from Friday's game. Whew. Go Bows. We are in the postseason.
I'm glad you mentioned the crowd, too. I know everybody heard, like, oh, sellout, and the Bows have done phenomenal. You guys have done phenomenal filling up the less this year. But Sunday is a little bit weird. It's graduation weekend for a lot of different schools. Families are out and about doing things. It can be tough, especially at a 1 p.m. start time on a Sunday. It can be tough to get out there. And tell you what, you would have never known. It was such an awesome crowd. Ben Ziegler-Namoa talked about it. When we talked to Jordan, he had mentioned it briefly. When I chatted with a couple of other players just offhand, they talked about, like, man, what a day this was. So really good on you guys. A phenomenal showing, as they've done all year. It's sad that we don't have any more games at the Les this year, because this fan base truly does deserve to see their team play postseason baseball in front of them. But thankfully, they get to watch them play postseason baseball. They get to go on to a Big West tournament. This was the biggest senior day game in, over a decade? The last time the Bows made the NCAA tournament was 2010, guys. So it's been 15 years since there's been any real, postseason. I guess not. It's 13 years because they had the WAC tournament back in the day. Like, it has been a long time since the Bows had the last game mean that much. And what a job by the Rainbow Warriors to come out and put up a performance for their fans, deliver for their fans and their seniors, and continue on their season. And they clinched the 4 seed, which I know it seems like a little thing. I'm like, oh, you don't get to play any more home games in front of the Les. But being the home team in that 4-5 matchup is big. Because how many times have we seen the Bows walk teams off? How many times have we seen, being the higher seed always is going to help you out. So a really awesome job by the Rainbow Warriors this past weekend. And I just wanted to give a shout out for sure to the fans, because I thought they were awesome. It was a beautiful day for baseball. And the boys came through, that's for sure.
The boys came through. And again, Hawaii going in as the 4 seed. They would take on the 5 seed UC Santa Barbara in an elimination game, actually. And we brought this up before when Paul and I were kind of thrown off guard for a little bit, because we were touting the Big West Conference postseason for both the softball and baseball side as a 6-team tournament. And then we looked back and we're like, oh, baseball's only 5, which Rich has something to say that in just a little bit, say about it in just a little bit. But yeah, it's a 5-team tournament. So Hawaii goes in as the 4 seed. So they will play an elimination game. And this one is a true elimination game. And then if they win, they go into the double elimination format. So that's kind of the difference between how this will work out for the baseball team versus the softball team heading into the tournament. And it will be on Wednesday at 9 a.m. Hawaii time. And you guys can watch it on ESPN Plus. But enough about what we had to say. Here is first what head coach Rich Hill had to say following that game. And it starts with his comments in reference to Jordan Donahue's big day yesterday.
Yeah, what a day to have a breakout performance. His last day of playing at Les Murakami Stadium. I mean, I'm speechless. Actually, he got hot. One of those years. I can't remember what, and then he had that great year last year. He can do that. It was just great to see on that type of stage with this consequence. Him be able to do that. That was no adjectives to describe that performance. Yeah, Ben had a great day too, but you're right, it gets a little bit overlooked, because he's been doing that all year, and it's, great on-base percentage, Matt Miura, comes to mind as well, Hunter Faldo, with a couple of big hits. I thought Sage Lancaster was great in that role, and really I think the story, the story was the entire team, but the pitching, that's Gonzalez giving you 4, just a couple solo shots, amazing. And then Freddie is the best he's looked since he's been in a Bow uniform, and Mag's doing his thing. So, overall, just unbelievable performance for these guys.
You were trying to keep the consequence of what this game would mean out of your guys' heads as much as possible, right? You were talking about that all weekend. So. Now that you guys are headed up to Fullerton, how does it feel?
Same thing. I mean, it's kind of business as usual. It's fun. We get to get on the bus, or back in a hotel, playing in a conference tournament. So it's the postseason. So it's that practice day Tuesday. You're on the clock. There's officials. There's all kinds of things that are really good for our guys. But we have a chance to go to the College World Series, and that hasn't happened in a long time.
I think it helps that on Wednesday you play another one of these, play-in type games.
I don't know. I mean, I haven't really figured it out yet. It's just our mindset's never that. It's a winner take all. It's a best of three. We're going to see a great pitcher. I'm assuming it's Jackson Flora, but who knows? A great Santa Barbara team that's very, very savvy in the postseason. We're the home team. We're the 4 seed, which is cool. So it's just like any other game, and I guess we're kind of battle tested a little bit, which can really help teams.
Coach, you kind of feel like this is a long time coming. In the years past, there wasn't a Big West tournament. People didn't get a chance to see, what the Bows could do. I mean, how rewarding is it? How excited are you?
Yeah, I mean, that's, so awesome that the Big West, finally, decided to have this conference tournament. The buzz, around all these programs. There's about 7 programs, that were, looking to this last weekend. Maybe not the first 2 or 3, but I mean, we could have finished in 7th place, if we would have lost today. We won, we're in 4th, as a home team in the playoffs. So that's how evenly balanced, this league is. We need to go to 6 teams. Softball has 6 teams out of 9. So I think that'll get done, at some point. But just, the student-athlete experience, to have, the conference tournament to shoot for. I mean, you're just playing for something, And you're right, the first 3 years I've been here, the season was over, and it would have been like that this year too.
Coach, could you talk a little bit about how big having yesterday off was, not just for obviously pitchers' arms, but also for the guys to mentally reset going into, honestly, the playoffs starting early?
Yeah, it turned out, to be huge. We didn't really, do anything, especially as pitchers. A lot of guys went to the beach, spent time with their family, and I really am a big believer in that, checking out and getting away from baseball. But the fact that it could rest Gonzalez, and Mags and Freddie was huge, But at the same thing, they could rest their guy Sid, and we just had more, in the arsenal today. But I think it worked out for both teams. UCSD and us are very similar. We've had some great weekends. We've had some awful weekends. The pitching is a little bit similar, so really proud of our guys.
And that was UH Baseball head coach Rich Hill following yesterday's big win for the Rainbow Warriors yesterday. All right, we do need to take a break. So when we come back, we'll let you guys hear from infielder/outfielder, one of the seniors honored yesterday in Ben Ziegler Namo. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back in a minute on the Hawaii Sports Radio Network.
Stuck in traffic? Back to more Wake Up in the Den with Ku'ulei Agbayani on the Hawai'i Sports Radio Network, 95.1 FM and AM 760.
Welcome back to Wake Up in the Den. Ku'ulei Agbayani and Paul Bracht on the Hawai'i Sports Radio Network, 95.1 FM, AM 760, hawaiisportsradio.com, and streaming live on our YouTube channel. So thank you for tuning in this and every Monday. All right, if you guys want to chime in on the YouTube chat, like we know, Caesar is very, very active. And then, or you guys can text us at 808-888-KG1. That's 808-888-5481. We did get a text. Says, Ku'ulei, go on the message board. 6 of the 8 finalists have been revealed for the UHAD position. Any thoughts? I do have some thoughts. I want to finish up our baseball conversation, though. Make sure we kind of close that out a little bit. I want to make sure we give them a little bit more love, making it into the postseason. But yes, and for those of you who haven't heard about it yet, well, we'll tell you about that in just a couple of minutes. But we've been talking about UH baseball, again, having themselves a big 13-2 win over UC San Diego to punch their ticket into the postseason. Again, the Bows in action on Wednesday in an elimination game. It is a double elimination tournament once they get through the elimination game this Wednesday. So keep that in mind as the 4 seed going to take on the 5 seed in UC Santa Barbara. But after yesterday's game, earlier we heard from head coach Rich Hill. Then Paul and the other media members got a chance to catch up with another guy that had a pretty big day yesterday, and Ben Ziegler-Namoa, the first baseman, sometimes plays out in the outfield as well, though. But this is what he had to say following that game yesterday.
Can I first say, crazy environment today. I thought fans showed out like crazy. I remember Jordan's last AB, and I've never seen the crowd do that in my life. It was pretty jaw-dropping to watch. Just sick environment. Talking about the Big West championships, I think we got to go in, just playing baseball, being us, and hopefully just do this.
What allowed this to happen?
I think we just, when we're in a playoff ball mindset, we're a very good ball team. We're taking it one game at a time. We're a very good ball club. And I think today it was win or go home, and I think it propelled us to really have some fire and energy today.
You talk a little bit about kind of that playoff mindset. Do you think it's almost helpful to already be in that playoff mode, going into this last weekend? Had to win 2 of 3 as it was.
100%. I think for us, like playing this series this weekend, it showed us what playoff baseball is like, and more importantly, like just how exciting it can be. And I think we're just excited for the opportunities.
What can you say about the day that guy had today? Yeah.
Unconscious is a great word that comes to mind. It reminds me of Stone with Santa Barbara, but that was just a senior on senior day type of thing. Just unreal to watch, and I was so happy to cheer for him, man. It was just awesome.
What do you think you guys can carry with you into Wednesday? Another one of these, do or die type games, right?
I think the thing to carry in is just have that fire, have that energy, and get on them from inning 1. They kind of did that to us today with that home run in the first, and I think it was good that we punched back really well. I think that's something to take into it, and we just got to keep being ourselves.
Best guess at how many people you had at both graduation and this today?
I couldn't give you a clue.
Quite
just
a few?
Maui people. Yeah, it was awesome though. It was awesome to see.
Sounds good.
Could you talk just quick a little bit more about the emotions from today? You've seen a couple of senior nights before, or senior days before, but to go through it yourself, just the emotions and the feelings of that?
Weirdly, this one doesn't hit as much for me. I think that for one, could come back, and that's definitely a possibility. But 2, we're playing playoff baseball. Haven't been here before, so I think it's something to be excited about. And I think the boys are feeling it. It's their last game here, but also we got business to handle.
And that was Ben Ziegler-Namoa yesterday following the big win over UC San Diego. And like I said, or like he was saying, got business to handle though this week, right back in action on Wednesday, 9 a.m. Hawaii time. So another distracting show for us again, Paul, as if we thought we were all done with that
Never done.
a couple of weeks ago when we had to try to keep track of the different sports in postseason action while we were live on air for those. Now we got to do it again on Wednesday because they are in action again, 9 a.m. Wednesday, Hawaii time, and it will be the 4 seed in Hawaii versus the 5 seed UC Santa Barbara. You guys can watch it on ESPN Plus, and the winner would move on to take on the 1 seed in UC Irvine, but from then on, it is the double elimination. So if they can at least get past UC Santa Barbara, and Paul made a good point earlier where Hawaii is the designated home team, so that tends to at least bode well sometimes for Hawaii's favor.
Just one extra leg up.
A little bit.
And you appreciate having that in a do or die game. I mean, it's the same thing.
Yes.
It's the same reason why going into Sunday, I was so thankful that, well, if Hawaii's got to play for their life, I'm glad they get to do it at the less, because that means no matter what, they get the last shot at it. And we've seen that if you give them just the last shot, what is it, 7, 8, 9 Bow Warrior time type thing. It is something that they consistently have shown, and they've shown the ability to come back on the road, don't get me wrong. But, you know, having that extra leg up, especially in, like you mentioned, a single game elimination. It's different when you have that wiggle room when you can lose a game. You're like, okay, sometimes you'll wave the white flag and be like, all right, we'll play for our life tomorrow, or we'll play for our life later. That's not the case. So I do appreciate having that. It's going to be really, really fun because they're going to need it. UC Santa Barbara, also a very impressive squad.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to see how Rich Hill will manage this. I mean, we kind of had the same conversation with Dane Fujinaka, but obviously Rich Hill has a ton of postseason experience with his last stop in San Diego, but now doing it for the first time with the Rainbow Warriors. And now Bizien said, like, oh, this is postseason baseball, and they're looking forward to it, which, you know, we'll talk about and preview a little bit more as the weeks go on, or as this week goes on.
You know, I really appreciated that answer by Bizien too. And it's funny because most times when I ask questions, I have a general idea of what the answer will be. That last question that I asked him, talking about the emotions, that was legit. I mean, he's a local boy, Maui boy. I knew that he has another year of eligibility, so he might come back another year if he doesn't get drafted or whatever it may be. Like, that's a conversation for another day. So I knew it would be a little bit weird for him, but that's kind of why I wanted to ask him, like, oh, what are the emotions like today? Having friends, having family, whatever. You've been part of these before. I didn't necessarily think about that aspect of, well, yeah, it's a little bit different because softball actually just gave us a similar answer when we chatted with them. Like, it's cool, but the emotions are a bit different because this isn't the end. This isn't the last day. This isn't, oh, I have to say goodbye to my brothers, my sisters, my whatever. This is fun. It's a celebration for me, for my teammates, for all of us. But there's still business to take care of. There's still work to do. So I thought that was cool. I appreciated that answer, especially because, like I said, most times I have pretty good idea of what the answer is going to be when I ask a question. So whenever you can surprise me, I always appreciate those answers a little bit more.
Nonetheless, so excited that now we at least get to see the Rainbow Warriors in action again coming up this week. All right, but again, we'll talk about the matchup and stuff as we go on throughout the week. But I do want to get back to that text that we had about the athletics director position. So they said to go on the message boards. 6 of the 8 finalists have been revealed for the UHAD position. Any thoughts to catch everybody up to speed? I didn't see it on the message board, but it was tweeted out. So I'm assuming that's it was from this tweet that it made its way to the message boards. Mike Whitman of Mountain West Connection actually tweeted this out this morning about 4:37 a.m. Hawaii time. Sources: interviews for the Hawaii AD position begin today. Among the 8 candidates are Jim Donovan, former UHAD, as we know, but currently the AD at Cal State Fullerton; Bob Moosbrugger from San Diego State; Wes Mallett, the UC Riverside AD, and someone I brought up last week; Matt Elliott, a name that was kind of new and we haven't really heard circulated around. He was formerly at UCLA. He is currently the Senior Director, Policy and Public Affairs for the Hawaii Community Foundation. George Killebrew, another name that I was hearing for the last couple of weeks. He used to be with the Dallas Mavericks organization, and most recently he is with the pickleball tour or something like that.
Does he have any relation to Harmon?
Who's that?
Baseball player. Sorry,
Okay.
keep going.
And Keith Amemiya, another name that we kind of heard of before. So obviously a business person and a former politician, question mark. I don't know. Does it count if you're a politician and you didn't win? Anyway, sorry. Just because on the Mike Whitman tweet, it says business/politician. So that's why I'm bringing that up. So, and
I
then
suppose you can still be a politician after you lose. That's what happens to a lot of them.
So first round of interviews will be today and tomorrow, then on-campus interviews to follow next week. So I guess this is the shorter list, as we reported last week that Craig Angeles did not receive an interview. And I'm curious to know who. So obviously there's 6 candidates that are listed by Mike Whitman, but he mentions that there are 8 candidates in total.
The
so
other
there
two
are 2
are sitting right here.
Yeah.
Don't tell.
You're not supposed to tell them that, Paul. So there's 2 more that we don't know about, but one of the 2 is not Craig Angeles. So that's to be, like I said, we reported on the last week, unfortunately, not getting an interview. Why? I do not know, because from a PR perspective, you should have just done it. We went on that whole rant last week. And to be honest, I think it was always going to be a long shot. I just feel like there are too many Eagles in the room / too many yada, yada, yada. And they probably just didn't want to bring the guy back. But it is interesting to see Jim Donovan get an interview because, as we know, he's a former UHAD that did get axed because of the whole Wonder Blender situation. I personally love Jim Donovan. That is not a knock on him. He was always very, very kind to me. He was the athletics director when I first started in this local sports industry, and his wife is awesome. I think she still works at UH. So he's great. It's just, I found that interesting that someone that was a former AD that did get fired, got an interview, and another one did not. So that's all I say. That's why I wanted to mention that.
Maybe there's a grace period. Maybe you need to. How long do you need to
It was a
wait
while.
until after you get fired to come back?
Yeah. So he's on here. And again, he's currently at Cal State Fullerton. They've had a relatively successful athletics program for the most part. Matt Elliott. Matt Elliott is and Bob Moosebrugger is probably the 2 that I didn't hear floating around at all. So I'm kind of curious to dive a little deeper about those 2 guys. Wes Mallett is the one I brought up last week, where I think if you read through his bio for UC Riverside, he does have a lot of, experience in fundraising. And we've seen him be relatively successful and and of course he had Mike McPile there, but built a very good men's basketball program when you are probably on the bottom end of the UC schools in the Big West in terms of support. So I feel like that bodes well. And having the experience in the Big West, again, obviously they don't have a football program, so I don't know how much that counts towards people interviewing and how much they weight that. But still, at least he has pertinent experience in college athletics and is very in tune to everything that's going on. Him alongside Jim Donovan. With Keith Amemiya, I can be a little skeptical on that just because he probably, in terms of on paper, probably has the least amount of relevant experience to the grand scheme of things. Again, I know he was with the HHSAA for a long time and is active in the business community and whatnot. But in terms of actual experience at the collegiate level or national scale, that's missing. And I feel like that should carry a lot of weight. I know a lot of people, like we saw the last time, there was a lot of, backlash, you can call it, which since subsided after Craig Angeles got hired about someone not having any familiarity with being here in Hawaii. I understand that. But at the same time, I don't want someone that is so Hawaii that they have no outside experience, because we are dealing with a totally different era in college athletics. So we'll see kind of how that shakes up. George Killebrew, he's a big time businessman, again, worked for the Dallas Mavericks. I have my reservations simply because it's a little different to manage money and maybe raise money when you have money that's already backing you, right? You go from the Mavericks to professional sports. There's always money there. where you come to somewhere like UH, a state institution, where you are going to work to try to get donors back. And then you have to work the legislature. So I don't know if he's prepared entirely for that, to come somewhere that has very little resources compared to a professional scale. But I know he's kind of a popular candidate, or a favorite amongst other prominent individuals, I guess I can say, that I've heard in this Hawaii community. He's kind of been one of their favorites. But again, I still have my reservations because he doesn't have the college athletics experience. And he also, if you guys look him up, he's probably not someone that the local people will be, if they already were like angry about Craig, he's not someone that screams like, hey, yeah, we want to welcome this guy in, because there's going to be that backlash all over again.
He's a Punahou grad. He's class of 81.
Oh, well, that's probably why the Punahou Mafia wants him here.
I didn't realize. So forgive my ignorance, beautiful people,
I didn't know
because
either.
I'm like over here to look, because I jokingly toss out, I'm like, oh, is he related to Harmon Killebrew? Because Harmon Killebrew, for the people who are unaware, is a baseball Hall of Famer, played for the Twins for a decade or two, whatever. And their last names are spelled the same. So I was like, oh, what's the chance of like whatever? I didn't expect to find him have an actual connection to Hawaii. Because I found this, and it's bulletin.punahou.edu. As a senior at Punahou, George Killebrew, 81, applied to a number of schools on the West Coast, blah, blah, blah. Talks about his time with the Mavericks and whatnot. So that is a little bit interesting.
Does it say where he's from?
So, and that's the question, right? Is like, how long did he spend at Punahou? But he very much so claims it. There goes on, talks about a story where he saw a guy walking around in Idaho with a Punahou shirt, and they started like singing, Punahou, the sons of whatever it may be. So that's interesting enough.
Now
to
it makes
that
sense.
connection.
The Punahou Mafia.
So that's
a real thing.
That's where I was like, what's going on here? But it's funny because I look at him and I had the immediate same thought. I'm like, they fired Craig and they're thinking this guy is gonna fly. But if he does have some sort of tie like that, that's interesting. And to be fair,
although as we know, Punahou only gets you so far.
Well, I was going to say, to be fair, we don't know if he's going to bring his own table or not. So I would be incredibly concerned about that. No, sorry. If you know, you know. It'll be interesting. That at least would be a little bit more inspiring to me than like a Keith Amemiya or like, I don't know. Because I do get the local ties, but I do also I like that he has connections to the professional ranks. I like that he worked his way up. I like that once he was in the NBA for 30 years, he was like, this was fun. What if I go to like pickleball though? What if I go do Major League Rugby? He has different experiences, so that would be interesting at least. There are some candidates on here that I certainly would be interested in.
Yeah, this Bob Mooseburger. I keep want to say Mooseburger. I just like him because his name looks like burger.
I trust you, yeah, on the
so Bob
pronunciation.
Mooseburger is the Deputy Athletic Director, Revenue Generation for football, men's golf, and women's golf at San Diego State. So clearly shows at least that familiarity and experience working with the football program. We know San Diego State has been successful in that and can have this revenue generation. So something like that, I think, does look really good on this person's resume. I have to dive a little deeper. There's no actual bio, which is funny, on the San Diego State website of Mr. Bob here. But hopefully we can find out a little bit more about him. Yeah, so that's kind of the gist to get everybody caught up to speed. Again, it was tweeted out this morning by Mike Whitman of the Mountain West Connection, claiming that sources for the interviews that will be held for the Hawaii AD position released 6 of the 8 candidates. And so we'll see if we can get any inclination of the 2. I honestly have no idea what the other 2 could be, because honestly, of these are names that I've heard, and I haven't heard names outside of this.
You got mystery
so
candidates.
I know. So that's why I'm like,
like free agency or like trades, you get like, oh, these are the favorites, but mystery team is lurking in the shadows. We've got 2 mystery candidates lurking in the shadows. Also, per our Michael Lascaro, Bob Mooseburger, I don't know how to say it, whatever. His Twitter handle is @bmoose, like BE Moose. He might be in the top 2 or 3 now in the power rankings just off that.
And he's active on Twitter?
Yes, he tweeted as 2 days ago.
All right, Mr. Burger.
Not only did he tweet 2 days ago, he quote tweeted San Diego State softball. So that is something interesting as well. So that's good. We're learning about these people on the fly. So,
okay, Mr.
form your
Burger.
own opinions as well.
Anywho, we do need to take a break. We'll probably pick this conversation up when our Michael Liscaro gets here for hour number 2. But when we come back, we'll talk a little bit of UH athletics, just mainly get you caught up with what you may have missed for track and field and how they did at the Big West Conference Championships over the weekend, and give some shout outs to the student athletes that graduated on Saturday as well. We'll be right back on the Hawaii Sports Radio Network.
Back to more Wake Up in the Den with Ku'ulei Agbayani on the Hawaii Sports Radio Network, 95.1 FM and AM 760.
Welcome back to all of you, the beautifulest of all the beautiful people. It's Wake Up in the Den. Ku'ulei Agbayani and Paul Brecht on the Hawaii Sports Radio Network, 95.1 FM, AM 760, hawaiisportsradio.com, and streaming live on our YouTube channel. So thank you guys for viewing and tuning in. Be sure to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Want to get to that 1,000 subscriber mark and catch up ever so slightly inch closer to Mr. Beast numbers. We are right there, Paul. We are almost there.
Ever so
close. No, we appreciate you guys, and that is why you are the beautifulest of all the beautiful people. All right, a big weekend that happened. Obviously, we were talking about baseball earlier, but we want to definitely give a shout out to the women's track and field team, as they, for the 4th year in a row, they turned in a top 4 finish at the Big West Championships, coming in 4th behind a number of podium finishes on Friday and Saturday. So prior to 2022, UH had just one top 4 conference finish in the program's last 20 season. So they have been very, very competitive. And I know Tim Boyce had said last week, he didn't want to really put, even though they've been doing very well the last few years, he didn't want to put any expectations on this squad. It was more of hope to finish high because they're a young team. They do have some seniors and some older athletes or experienced athletes, but they also have a lot of young athletes as well. But they still were able to finish in the top 4. And of course, quite a few podium finishes, though. Lillian Turbin, shout out to her, our Mano Wahine Wednesday feature earlier in the season, won the high jump title on Friday, clearing 1.81 meters on her first attempt to post a season best mark. She also won the javelin title on Saturday to become the first UH athlete ever to take gold at a conference championship in 2 different field non-multi events. Rose Forshaw made it a 1-2 Rainbow Wahine finish atop the javelin podium with a toss of 44.35 meters on her 6th and final attempt to move into 10th all-time at UH. Tara Wiley finished off Saturday with a 3rd place finish in the triple jump, and her 6 points moved UH ahead of UC San Diego for that 4th place team finish. Boom. Sorry, not sorry, UCST over this
a brutal weekend to be a Triton going against the Rainbow.
That's what you get for
Warriors
your success in men's and women's basketball. So there you go.
they can have those.
Yeah.
We finished the year strong.
Lucy Milliner capped off her freshman season by finishing on the podium in the 1500 meter, taking 3rd with a time of 4:38.81. She came in 4th in the 800 meter about an hour later with a time of 2 minutes 9.85 seconds. Let's see. Helen Holdley collected her first career outdoor medal by coming in 2nd in the pole vault, clearing 4.17 meters. Samaria Vital claimed a spot on the discus podium, placing 3rd with a PR toss of 50.30 meters to crack the UH top 10 in the event at number 7. Woo!
What a weekend, dude. That's
Shout out
crazy.
track and field. Again, Tim Boyce being a little more, I guess, cautious about the expectation, as we mentioned last week.
I like the way he put it.
Yeah, he was hopeful, and well, hey, another top 4 finish, and I think he couldn't be happier with this outstanding performance as a team, and then to see like a couple of podium finishes and a couple on top of the podium for Lillian Turbin. I mean, what a phenomenal weekend for the Rainbow Wahine. And again, just out of everything they've been dealing with over the last
imagine
few
when
years.
they actually get a chance to actually practice.
I don't know.
On this.
I go back to like when we talk about the Kansas City Chiefs. Maybe you got to have some adversity to win, because when we go to the NFL report cards, the Chiefs always grade poorly in like everything, like in terms of the locker room and everything like that, but then they cash it in for Super Bowl titles. And then the women's soccer team and track and field team, they have these like struggles, and then they cash it in for championships also.
Counterpoint: Aces and Liberty and the W.
Okay.
Women, what does Beeman say all the time?
That's true.
These women, the ladies, if you help them look good, feel good, they're gonna play good. That goes all the way to the track as well. You give them a place to prepare well. You give them a place to feel like true college athletes. We've seen how high they can go without those resources. I'm so excited to see what happens when they have them. Also, it'll be cool when they eventually are able to have home meets. That'll be pretty fun too someday.
Yeah, because then you'll have actual like fans that can come out, get to know these student athletes a little bit more, as we have up there for you on our YouTube channel. The photos, the courtesy of Hawaii Athletics of Coach Sab there in the middle for her athletes with the javelin, the 1 and 2 finish for UH in Lillian Turbin and Rose Forshaw. So again, shout out to them for javelin, and shout out to Coach Sab, again, training her student athletes in the jungle. That isn't exactly the best spot to train as well, but just phenomenal performances all around. All right, going to take a quick break. When we come back, we will talk about some student athlete graduations, and then also get into that question that we were asked via text message on what our top team and coach for UH this past season, who those are. And I still am going back and forth. So we'll see what I say.
I hope you go first, because I'm still thinking so much.
I feel like it'll still change, but we'll be back on the Hawaii Sports Radio Network.
to more Wake Up in the Den with Ku'ulei Agbayani on the Hawai'i Sports Radio Network, 95.1 FM and AM 760.
Welcome back to Wake Up in the Den. Ku'ulei Agbayani and Paul Brecht on the Hawai'i Sports Radio Network. Michael Iscaro joining us for hour number 2 as we will get a WWE Smackdown preview of the Eastern Conference Finals as Paul's New York Knicks are in the Eastern Conference Finals and will take on Michael Iscaro's Indiana Pacers. You know, both of these guys very active within the franchise, so they totally will be the representatives of these two franchises 100%. In our early preview of the Eastern Conference Finals. So we'll do that in hour number 2 when Michael Iscaro is set to join us. But finishing up hour number 1, I want to get to just a little few congratulations. 111 student athletes for the University of Hawaii Manoa celebrated their graduation on Saturday, so shout out to them. Woo! The list includes student athletes from 19 sports, including the baseball team, which led the way with 12 graduates. They were followed by football with 10, sailing with 10, women's basketball with 9. Sad face, I'm going to miss them. Women's track and field with 8, and swimming and diving with 7 and 6 for women's and men's. So 111 student athletes total. Shout out. And just looking at some of the student athletes that we've been able to have on this show, Hallie Birdsong is one of them, getting her degree in public health. Also, a shout out to Kelsey Imai with human development and family studies. Lily Wahine Kapu with interdisciplinary studies, looking at men's volleyball. As we know, Kurt Neusterer with his degree in finance, Eleu Choi with his master's in civil engineering. That's kind of impressive.
Man.
Yeah,
he's also, by the
bit.
way, one of the top 2 liberos in the country. Yeah, I would argue he's the best one in the country, but apparently people disagree with me. But that's fine, whatever. But on top of that, he's just casually getting his master's. Yeah. And I'm sure this doesn't even say, to my knowledge, doesn't even say like with honors or anything. And it would not shock me at all if Eleu had with honors and summa cum laude and all the stuff, like any additional honors that you can add on. It would not shock me at all if Eleu had that on top of that. It's unbelievable. Like these are superheroes, guys. I don't think people understand that.
Yeah. Shout out to our guy Zor
My
getting
king.
his degree in communication. Also some other men's basketball players. You got Tanner Christensen, Matt Cotton, and Jerome Palm getting their masters in finance. Another guy getting his masters in finance from football, Ben Falk. That's pretty cool. This is a neat Maurice Ta'ala, cinematic arts.
My king.
From football. That's pretty neat. Like looking through this list, and shout out
That's
to
awesome. Wait,
HawaiiAthletics.com to see the list of the student athletes and their degrees that they're. Yeah, I know that one stood out to me. Like we might have to have Maurice on the show just to talk about it. That seems really interesting. Let's see, from softball, Chloe Borges in business management, Dallas Millwood, who also is obviously the GA for the baseball team, educational foundations. Let's see, Alyssa Nakagawa, biology, shout out, because biology is very, very hard.
Absolute.
Let's see some of the other ones. But yeah, I thought that I'm still going back to the cinematic arts because I think he's the only one that I see in this
curious
list
what
for
he wants,
cinematic arts.
like what inspired him to want to pursue that. You know, because I have a lot of friends who are That's a stretch. Okay.
Friends.
I went to school. Well, no, they're friends. It's just a lot is like, it makes me sound more popular than I am. I have friends who work like in the industry for film, for television, for cinema. Like, I'm genuinely curious because none of them played football. Or were even close. And also, like, none of them were football players. None of them were like in the trenches football players. No,
maybe he can intern with us. I kind of want to do like an office style like documentary stuff of our crew, like setting up at different events and stuff. You know what I mean? Like we gotta send the bat signal out
to reach out to.
Yeah, if you need some internship and stuff like that, we can talk through it, Maurice. A couple more that I want to mention. Jordan Wedderburn. Shout out to our girl Jordan. Her KRS
Mono Wahine Wednesday.
Health and Exercise Science. Bernie Doyle getting her master's in marketing management. So that's fun. Taylor Ikenaga, of course, a future teacher. Well, she's kind of a teacher already, but getting her degree in elementary education. Talia Edmonds, a master's in social work. Jason Bamus in public health. So there is a bunch, and congratulations again to the 111 University of Hawai'i Manoa student athletes that received their degrees and were in celebration on Saturday. So, woo!
That's why they call them student athletes.
Yes.
Like, legitimately, I know we kind of poke fun at it all the time. Hawaii, and especially the student athletes that we are blessed to cover every single day, really a lot of them do such a phenomenal job taking their job seriously, not just on the court, on the field, in the pool, whatever it may be, but also in the classroom. And it shows with these. Once again, this doesn't even tell the full story because I'm so curious how many of these are graduating with honors, how many of these have the additional recognition on top of it as well. Because when you're a student athlete, when you're an athlete, a lot of times, just doing it isn't good enough. You want to do it with a little bit extra. And I have to imagine they're that way in the classroom as well. So yes, congratulations. A really, really awesome accomplishment.
All right, we got to get into our text message that we received on Friday. Again, thank you for texting in. This is a fun thing to kind of talk about. So overall, Coach of the Year and Team of the Year for the 2024-25 UH sports season, and they don't have to be the same team and coach from the same program. So this texter actually gave theirs, so thank you for giving yours. They have Laura Beeman as their Coach of the Year and men's volleyball as their Team of the Year. And I feel like I was talking to our Kyle Galdera about this yesterday. I'm like, there's really no wrong answer, I feel like, for this. Michael Iscaro actually chiming in via text message, as I know he's making his way into the studio. He said his UH awards, Coach of the Year, Bud and Nagamine. For soccer, and Team of the Year, Wahine water polo. Again, it's like you can't go wrong. I think I've narrowed it down for mine personally.
Go ahead.
All right, so mine, similar to Michael, but it's opposite. My Team of the Year is going to be the soccer team. So it's going to be the women's soccer team. And maybe it's because I've played soccer and thinking of all the stuff that they had to deal with in terms of the travel that they have to do to play their games, to find a practice field, all of that stuff, and then to have enough energy and be able to close out games to win the Big West Conference regular season. I'm like, man, if I put myself back in their shoes, that's a phenomenal feat. And just the team play that they had. I mean, Nalani Damasian coming in as a freshman, but then you had Amber Gilbert, who was very much about the team, right? She would care if she didn't have these stats this year as long as they were winning. And I know, yeah, like I said, Nalani got a lot of the accolades. So I think just collectively as a team, and the defense was solid. And then Kennedy Justin coming in and being solid in the goal, right? Like as a young player, I thought together, I was like, as I'm getting chicken skin just thinking about it. And again, maybe it's a little bit of a bias just because I played soccer, but that's my Team of the Year. Would have to be women's soccer. Coach of the Year, it's so hard because obviously, like Michael said,
a lot of
Coach
really
Bud,
good choices.
Coach Beeman. I think I have to go with Charlie Wade just because he was able to take a young team and parlay it into winning big games against. And he mentioned, like, we threw everything at Long Beach State and they were able to win it, but he was able to manage the games the way that he did in order for the teams to come out with the win. So Charlie Wade would have to be my Coach of the Year.
He also became the all-time leader in wins in program history this year, so that just kind of adds on to it. That makes me feel better. I was going to choose a little bit differently from you.
All right, we'll get yours when we come back, but we'll take our end of the hour break. So stick around. We'll get Paul's answer for his Coach and Team of the Year, and Michael Iscaro will join us in studio, and we'll talk a little bit more about the AD situation as well. So we got a lot more in hour number 2. We'll be right back on the Hawaii Sports Radio Network.
Atlanta Dream in a home and home series on Tuesday and Thursday.
Back to more Wake Up in the Den with Ku'ulei Agbayani on the Hawai'i Sports Radio Network, 95.1 FM and AM 760.
Welcome back to Wake Up in the Den, hour number 2. I'm Ku'ulei Agbayani alongside Paul Brecht and Michael Liscaro joining us in studio as we are streaming live on our YouTube channel as well this and every single Monday. So feel free to chime in on the live chat, or you guys can text us at 808-888-KG1. That's 808-888-5481. And shout out to everybody that's active in the chat. Obviously, we have our Caesar. We got Felipe Hernandez in there. We got, was it Bob? No, Robert. Robert's chiming in,
Well,
a
I mean, I
UAB
suppose
fan 92. Bob, but
Bob is
Robert.
away, though we don't know if Robert goes by Bob, so we shouldn't assume that.
So Robert's in there. We also got a El Gigalo. This is the first time one
So
that
we got a new name,
David. So shout out to everybody commenting on the live chat. Again, packed hour number 2. We will kind of do a little switcheroo, and I will play more of a moderator for Michael and Paul as we get the Eastern Conference Finals. A fun little banter, WWE Smackdown going on for their respective teams as Michael is in here repping his Pacers. And because the Knicks do not play today, Paul is wearing a Knicks t-shirt. As we know, as we know, he will not wear a Knicks shirt while on game days. He will wear Ithaca stuff. But today is not a game day, so Paul is representing the New York Knicks. All right, before we get into some NBA conversation, though, we closed out hour number 1 via a question that we got on text message. Again, thank you for texting in this really good question, asking our opinions on the overall Coach of the Year and Team of the Year for UH Manoa 2024-25 season. I had said that my Team of the Year is UH Women's Soccer and all of they accomplished in winning the Big West Conference regular season, and Coach of the Year, Charlie Wade, because of how he was able to take a team that we really didn't have much expectations for and able to win the Big West Conference tournament and have not one but 2 big wins over the number 1 team in the country and eventual NCAA national champs in Long Beach State. So those were my 2. I know we have our text in our bat signal to our group text with Alan Mia and Kyle Galdera. So Kyle Galdera says his Team of the Year is UH Baseball and his Coach of the Year is Women's Soccer head coach Bud Nagamine. Alan Mia saying his Team of the Year is Women's Water Polo and Coach of the Year is Coach Bud. So Coach Bud getting quite a few here. I was like, oh, Coach Bud getting the Coach of the Year, because that is also what Michael Liscaro had said via text message. And Team of the Year is Wahine Water Polo for Michael. But Paul, we didn't get your answer yet. So who are your Coach and Team of the Year this year?
So all of these answers are phenomenal. Unfortunately, my answer is the only one that can be correct. No, kidding, guys. Kidding. I'm going to stick kind of with the theme of going with the ladies and recognizing the ladies, because that is who was very, very successful throughout this year. I'm actually going to go Team of the Year as track and field. I know it's a little strange to do so for a somewhat individual sport, but I really, really believe that the circumstances that they've had to deal with over the past few seasons, but past couple of seasons especially, and with expectations kind of starting to be on them because they've had success over these past 2 years. You mentioned it, how they have back-to-back top 4 finishes at the podium in Big West Championships. It's the first time that's happened 20 years or something like that. They had a great season despite still having to deal with a whole bunch of stuff, and they were rewarded by finally getting to be on their new track, or kind of getting to be on their new facility there. So I wanted to give them the recognition as Team of the Year because I think winning does matter. And to that point, continuing on winning and expectations, I I want to give my coach of the year to James Robinson, who we talk so much about how men's volleyball was this young team. James Robinson looks like he's my age. And tell you what, he is incredibly, like, a stoic nature. He is always at control. His leadership with a program that has been under the same stewardship for, I don't know how many years before with Coach Mo, but a long time before, to come in and, I mean, pretty quickly. I know he was with the program last year, but to come in and keep them at this level, and it's part of the reason why they got votes as well for Team of the Year, to keep them at this level, to really show that this is a top 4 program in the country, in a sport that really, the top 4 has been pretty set in stone since it began. I think that is impressive in itself. I want to give him some recognition for that. So Coach James Robinson of water polo for my coach of the year, and then Rainbow Wahine track and field for continuing to keep elevating the standards there, despite having not exactly the greatest of circumstances to work with.
I like it. All right, Michael, you want to elaborate on your selections for your team and coach of the year for UH Manoa Athletics this past season?
Well, I know we're going to get into the whole Knicks Pacers things, but I almost kind of wanted to debate Paul and say that, I mean, again, a lot of the teams that and the coaches we're mentioning, they all deserve it, right? But women's soccer needs to be in one of those collections one way or another, because Paul mentions expectations, right? There's expectations there's some expectations on track because they have a squad. Water polo, there's some expectations because, they were good last year, but women's soccer, they did not have the expectation on themselves to have the season that they did, to win the regular season. And, Coach Bud had to do more. They had to figure out what field they're going to practice on that week, and when there's opposing teams for non-conference play that come in, she has to be responsible to find practice fields for those teams, like Air Force, and I think Baylor too also came in. She had to find fields for them, set up nets for them, which is not, that's not her team. She has to help the other team. And also because Coach Bud came on the show and Coach Robinson did. I mean, that's an invitation, Coach James. That's an invitation.
I was like, technically he wasn't invited, so you can't not Coach James.
But that's an invitation.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm like, I don't think you get to toss that in there.
I was like, throwing shade to Coach Robinson, and which is kind of throwing shade to us because we didn't invite him yet. Yeah.
Well, that's why I'm helping you out. I'm inviting you. I'm not on the show as much as these two are, but I'm inviting you without their permission.
I know. Michael coming in here producing the show.
Water polo, right? This was a really stacked squad. That's why I had them over men's volleyball in my list, is because sometimes the best ability is your availability. And men's volleyball, we never got to see that final form for them just because of the injuries that came. But this water polo team really had no holes. And you had a good mix of seniors in Bernie Doyle and Jordan Wedderburn. And, one of the best freshmen of the season, even not just nationally, but in the world, in Emma Vernou, who scored the first career goal for her country in the Olympics. And that's something to be said. I know Coach Robinson was in, hey, with a fluke with this being last year being an Olympic year, but, we won the Big West this year because of, a mix of young players and seniors. And kind of that, who mentioned that for the women's soccer team too. But, the water polo team, they did win the Big West, and they did go to the Final Four and had legitimate shots at winning the whole dang thing. So that's why they were my team of the year.
I think that's understandable completely. And that's part of the reason why I do have Coach Robinson up there, as well as he lost the back-to-back conference player of the year and helped produce a new one in Bernie Doyle. And obviously Doyle, she's been phenomenal her entire career, one of the most experienced players that there is in all of UH athletics. But just really, I mean, a great year for Rainbow Wahine sports just in general. It really was so fun to cover, whether it was starting in the fall with Coach Bud and the Rainbow Wahine soccer team, all the way through to Coach and I don't want to leave out the softball team and Coach Coolin with all this, because I know that when we're talking about expectations, I know it's a little weird to say, the expectations for this team have not always been to finish atop whatever. They've been kind of mediocre. This was not a mediocre UH softball team by any stretch of the imagination. So I do want them to get an honorable mention. I think they played inspired for Coach Bob in his final year, and a full season or full year of Rainbow Wahine athletics was phenomenal, and of course our Rainbow Warriors as well. But specifically, the ladies, they cleaned up this year, that's for sure.
Now imagine if we had, and we will this year. I'm throwing it out there and manifesting again. If we had a good football team. We need football to start succeeding. Like all of the other sports, obviously it's awesome, but the vibes get elevated. And I only say that because he shall remain nameless, but talking to a former student athlete, that one of the guys that graduated said, he says it would feel different and almost feel different as an alum if your football team was successful. So that's why I bring that up, because it came from someone that's a student athlete. Again, shall remain nameless, but he's like, man, I wish I could look forward to the football program, because that's what you see across the country. Everyone's repping, talking about their football program. And he's like, I wish it. So football, we need it. Because I'm like, you know what? I never really thought of it that way from an alumni standpoint, because obviously I didn't go to UH. I'm not an alum. But to hear a young person say that now, and I'm like, yeah, I guess you're right. Like if you talk about, because as much as we do our best to cover all of these other sports, football is always going to be king here in Hawaii, here across the country.
I still root for my stupid D3 little football team. I tune in not every Saturday, but when I get the chance, I tune into my college D3 football team because they're good.
Yeah.
So I can't imagine going to a Division I and a Division I institution that has a little bit of somewhat recent history in Hawaii with the 2007 run, and even more recently with the Mountain West Championship, run to the Mountain West Championship. So I can imagine, or I can understand why that feeling is there. I can relate to that feeling.
So we will continue to manifest now that we are getting that much closer to football. We're going to manifest. This is the year where that person will be proud to be an alum, because football will be good and competitive this coming season for sure.
We're getting a winning record. I didn't expect I thought this was the positive trend. I didn't expect Kudu to be taking some shots at the football team. But Coach Tim and Chang, I believe in you guys. You guys will go have a winning record this year and be in the newly minted Sheraton.
I just said we're manifesting
a
winning season. How is that taking a shot at the team?
Only if before. You said only if.
So I want to say this before. I know we got to go to break, but I want to say this. Michael said this to me. I think it was off the air. He said this to me the other day, though, where he believes in this UH football team can get 7 or 8 wins. He's the first person to say that to me who agree, because I also feel that way. I think I said that on the air, where this is a 7 or 8 win UH football team. So to have Michael say that, especially because Michael is not positive Paul all the time, it made me feel really good. I was like, hey, maybe this team might have a chance.
I think so. And Felipe Hernandez in the YouTube chat saying, in Alihado, we trust. And there you go.
In Hollywood, Alihado, we trust, baby.
Alihado.
I was going to try it, and as I started to say, I'm like, it's not going to work.
All right, we are going to take a break, and when we come back, we will get into some NBA chatter and let these two guys kind of take the reins for a little bit and talk about the Eastern Conference Finals coming up between their teams and the Knicks and Pacers. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back on the Hawaii Sports Radio Network.
Wake Up in the Den with Ku'ulei Agbayani on the Hawai'i Sports Radio Network, 95.1 FM and AM 760.
Welcome back to Wake Up in the Den. Ku'ulei Agbayani, Paul Brecht, and Michael Lescaro on the Hawai'i Sports Radio Network, 95.1 FM, AM 760, and hawaiisportsradio.com. All right. As you can see, I have switched on over here on our YouTube. You guys can see I've switched over to the Paul Brecht chair because for the most part, for the rest of this hour number 2, I'm going to let the guys kind of take reins of this show and talk some NBA because it'll be a fun Eastern Conference Finals series. Again, that begins on Wednesday. So Paul is wearing his New York Knicks stuff because he will not wear it on game day. But the New York Knicks able to close out the Boston Celtics 119 to 81 last week Friday, setting this up and the fireworks conversation. So naturally, I'm going to just kick it on over to you, Paul, and let the WWE Smackdown talk get started. And in case you guys don't know what we keep talking about, it is because you had Tyrese Halliburton and Jalen Brunson about a year ago on WWE Smackdown, essentially manifesting this matchup that we are yet to see begin on Wednesday. So, Paul, take it away for the beautiful people.
This is going to be really, really fun for anybody who's fan of 90s basketball, for anybody who is a fan of NBA rivalries, for anybody who just likes good hoops. I think this is going to be a really fun series. Two teams who, and Michael, you can correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think really expected to be here during the season. It was one where you thought that the chance was there, but the expectation to meet in the Eastern Conference Finals, specifically these two teams especially, I don't think was there. I think you either assumed maybe one could upset Cleveland or Boston or whatever, but it would probably be Cleveland or Boston versus New York or Indiana, one or the other. And then the rest of the year kind of went on. Indiana, the second half of this year, I thought has been a phenomenal team. The Knicks, a lot of top-end talent, started to figure it out in the postseason. During the regular season, Knicks win the series, and once again, I'm going to get into it. This doesn't matter all that much. During the regular season, the Knicks win the series 2-1. Indiana last year, when they met in the Eastern Conference semifinals, they take that series 4-3. Similar kind of vibes to that one in my head, where this is a Pacers team that still doesn't get a ton of respect considering how good they've been for months now at this point. And a Knicks team who, despite its flaws, is understandably a strong team as well, but one that still gets plenty of doubt. Just a few more things before we get into actually talking about this. This is the fourth time that New York and Indiana have met in the Eastern Conference Finals, and it's actually kind of fun because it's the first time in 25 years. The last time was back in 2000. Michael knows that year. 99, the year before that as well, and then 94 were the other three matchups. So going to be a lot of fun. Each of the last 7 matchups between these two teams have been decided by an average of 20.7 points, which is insane. Both of these teams love to blow the other one out. Pause. And then it's just, I don't think that's going to be the case in this series. And with that, I'm going to kick things off. And Michael, I will toss it over to you. How are you feeling as a Pacers fan going into this series? Obviously, you guys don't have home court advantage, but that didn't seem to matter all that much last year. This is a team that you guys beat last year, albeit a very different Knicks squad. When it comes to your confidence as a Pacers fan entering this matchup, where are you at?
Well, to start things off, Paul, I'm very confident today, mainly because I woke up to a really kind of a good YouTube comment. I see you guys in the chat. Caesar and Felipe, I see you guys. Don't worry, I see your comments. But I know Felipe, excuse me, Caesar. I'm just gonna bring this up. Caesar kind of wanted the undisputed, and I know they're undisputed. They're two hosts or two people on there, main characters. A little bit questionable, but I will gladly take the Shannon Sharp reference over Skip Bayless.
I was gonna say.
So I think I screenshotted that, Caesar, and it's gonna be somewhere on the internet. But yes, I'm really confident because this Pacers team, they're different, you know? I mean, and that's kind of ironic because this is almost the same squad as last year, but they are a more mature team. I think after winning Game 2 and Game 5 in Cleveland was very confidence boosting for Indiana and for the fans and the fan base because they took care of business. They didn't elongate this series. You know, people were thinking, you know, they won Game 1 in Cleveland. You might think that, okay, they're going to be satisfied with the split, but they come back from 20 points down to take Game 2 in Cleveland, which pretty much set the tone for the rest of the series. Cleveland really didn't have no shot after that. And in Game 5, they could have easily sandbagged Game 5 on the road like the Knicks did in their Eastern Conference semifinals.
Oh, so annoying.
But they took care of business in Cleveland and got more days rest. So this is a more mature team than last year. That was first year under the lights. I know Game 1 last year in the playoffs against the Bucks, they looked like a team that was there for the first time. And this year, they don't look like that. This next team, with this iteration with Jalen Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns, it's their first year together. You know, they are still kind of figuring things out. And, you know, the playoffs, the longer you go, the more chances you have. But here's also some stats that make me confident that the Pacers are going to win this series. Is that, Paul, when is your birthday? When was the day you were born?
It's October 21st, 1999.
The Knicks have not won a playoff series versus the Pacers since then. And that was in 2000. That was in 2013 when Roy Hibbert erased Carmelo Anthony's dunk attempt in Game 6, and they went on to the Eastern Conference Finals. And last year when the people thought the Knicks would win in Game 7 at home and the Pacers had their Mother's Day massacre. I think they led at 40 points at one point against the Knicks. And speaking of which, the Knicks have not won a game in the Fieldhouse in Conseco. It used to be Conseco, then it used to be Bankers Life. Now it's Gainbridge Fieldhouse. The Knicks have not won a playoff game there since our building opened. And we also have Caitlin Clark. The team is 6-0 when Caitlin Clark is in attendance, and there's a good chance that she'll be in. I mean, we just saw the Pacers at the Fever game this past Saturday, and they won. So
I would totally understand that comfort if the Knicks didn't just pretty much evaporate the demons of the last 25 years. The Knicks, I have no issue admitting this. I was emotional after Friday's win. The Knicks have not won a home closeout game in my lifetime up into that point. The Knicks had not moved to the Eastern Conference Finals up into that point. And so I'll be honest, I'm fine with those stats because this is not the Knicks of old. This is not the Carmelo Anthony 2013 team, which actually, funny enough, I have a photo that I should share with you guys sometime from that year. It does not scare me in that sense, especially considering the Knicks have been very good on the road during the postseason. This iteration of the Knicks has been very good on the road during the postseason this year. That, honestly speaking, I'm more worried about when they play at home because the Knicks have not necessarily been a dominant home team this year. And we saw last year the Pacers are not going to be intimidated by any stretch of the imagination going into MSG. So I really don't take a ton into home court or non-home court advantage. I am a little bit curious about where some of your worries might be. The Knicks have two top scorers in terms of points per game in this series. They have the top scorer left in the playoffs in Jalen Brunson. He's averaging 28.8 points per game. Karl Anthony Towns ranks above both Pascal Siakam and Tyrese Halliburton in terms of scoring, and this year has really, really done well against the Pacers, averaging during the regular season average. And once again, regular season stats don't really mean much. Regular season doesn't really mean a ton once you get to the postseason, but did have his way against the Pacers during the regular season, averages over of 30 points and 11 rebounds per game. What about those two scare you? Do those two scare you at all? And then I'll go, how much confidence are you able to take in the fact that, you know, the Pacers, all five of their guys in the starting lineup, especially during the playoffs, have been clicking to the point their starting lineup is scoring more points than the Knicks starting lineup?
Well, the Pacers have shown in these playoffs that they can survive one player being great. We saw that in the first round with Giannis. You know, Giannis was doing his thing, And we saw that in the second round with Donovan Mitchell getting to the foul line at will and drawing fouls. Like, the Pacers can survive one player being great, putting up 30, 40-point games. So that's par for the course. So when Karl Anthony Towns probably scores 40 in some of these games, the Pacers have shown they can score more points to survive that. Now, if Brunson and Towns get going, then that's a bit of a concern because on paper, this Knicks team is better than the Pacers. On paper, this Knicks team is better than the Pacers, than last year's Knicks team. But the thing is, it's a 7-game series. And the Pacers, it's going to be a battle of theories. It's going to be a battle of ideology, of ideas and coaching styles where is more bodies better in the playoffs or is less bodies better in the playoffs. And the Pacers, what the Eastern Conference Finals schedule, every game is 2 days apart. We just had Aaron Gordon in his postgame yesterday after they lost to the Nuggets lost to the Thunder that, hey, he wishes that there was more break in between games. That is not a luxury that the Knicks or the Pacers have in this upcoming series, but the Pacers are better equipped at playing these games because of the style and pace they play. They force teams to play their style. We had Kenny Atkinson, basically the coach of the year, say that about his Cavaliers. They just couldn't keep up with the Pacers. And I know we got to go to break, so I'll kind of pick up from there. And I see Paul getting nervous too, so.
It's funny. I was looking at the clock as well, and I'm like, I know we got to go to break soon, but I do want to continue this conversation because that is kind of where I want to go with it, where that's going to be something that a lot of people talk about is the pace between these two teams. The Knicks ranking, I believe it's 26th out of 30 teams during the regular season. The Pacers, I believe they rank top 5, if not higher than that. In terms of pace. So 2 incredibly different styles, but if you look at their numbers, everything else kind of lines up very evenly. So like you said, a battle of ideologies between these two teams, and we're going to see quite a bit, but got to step aside for a break here. We'll be back on Wake Up in the Den on 95.1 FM, AM 760, and streaming live on our YouTube, Hawaii Sports Radio Network.
The Honolulu
Back to more Wake Up in the Den with Ku'ule Agbayani on the Hawaii Sports Radio Network, 95.1 FM and AM 760.
Welcome back to all of you, the beautifulest of all the beautiful people. It's Wake Up in the Den, Ku'ule Agbayani, Paul Brecht, and Michael Lescaro on 95.1 FM, AM 760, HawaiiSportsRadio.com, and streaming live on our YouTube channel this and every Monday. We are talking all about the NBA playoffs, more specifically the Eastern Conference Finals, as Paul's New York Knicks will take on Michael's Indiana Pacers coming up beginning on Wednesday. Taking a look real quick before I kick it over to you guys. As we know, looking at the futures market, it was crazy because for the longest time, it's like the odds makers did not want to give the New York Knicks any credit because it took a while for them to even be favored to win that series as it was going on. They were always at plus money until like the very, very end. So all the odds makers thought that Boston, even without Jason Tatum, would pull it out. But now we know the rest is history. Looking though at the futures market, your favorite to win the NBA Finals are the Oklahoma City Thunder, even though they went to 7 but had a convincing win over the Denver Nuggets yesterday, 125-93. But they are your favorites to win the NBA Finals at minus 175 odds via BetMGM. The Knicks there have the second shortest odds at plus 450. The T-Wolves at 6-1, and the Indiana Pacers over there at 8-1 odds to win it all. And the Knicks are your minus 155 favorite to win the Eastern Conference Finals. But you know what? Hey, if anybody has confidence in the Pacers and that plus money, honey, at plus 130 for the Pacers to win the Eastern Conference Finals. So kicking it back over to you guys.
Well, first and foremost, that's because of all the, as Paul points out, the degenerate gamblers in the Northeast putting money on the Knicks when they were the underdogs, and now they're putting money in the Knicks when they're favorites. But going back to our conversation about, the pace and play for the Pacers, like they force teams to play their style of basketball. And, the Pacers, I don't know if I said it before the break, but the Pacers are 5-0 after 2 days break in the playoffs. And they're 1-2 after 3 days break. But the Eastern Conference Finals schedule, it's every other day. And we just saw the Knicks go 2-2 against the Celtics when they had a 2-game gap. So that's what I'm kind of banking on. Again, the Knicks have not won a playoff game in the Pacers arena since the arena opened in 1999. Like when Paul was like 1 month old, that's when the arena opened. So it's been a while, and that's kind of getting into the same territory that NFL team in New York is. And I'm not talking about the Jets. I'm talking about the Buffalo Bills with the Kansas City Chiefs. They just can't exercise that their demons there. So if the series go long, it's gonna go the Pacers' way. And if the Knicks can defeat the Pacers at Indiana for once, then they'll have my respect because they want to play a shorter series. So yeah, that's pretty much what it's gonna come down to. But Paul.
Yeah, I mean, you bring up a point that I really agree with in terms of the longer this series goes, the more it should go in favor of the Pacers. They just are built for a little bit more difficulty, and that's not to say that the Knicks have the inability to do so. I know Tom Thibodeau gets a ton of criticism for his reliance on the starters, but I will say that reliance on the starters does have them prepared to play these heavy minutes in the playoffs, and we've seen that now as they continue to almost outcondition these other teams that they've played in the first 2 rounds. Now, do I think they can do that against the Pacers? No, and I'll ask you this as well. Are the Pacers still picking up full court, 94 feet, like after buckets or whatever? Whether last year I think it was TJ McConnell was doing it, whether it's Andrew Nembhard. Are you guys still picking up full court? Is that something that you think the Knicks should expect to see during this series? And if so, how effective do you think it would be for the Knicks to get the ball out of Jalen Brunson's hand, bringing it up just to save that energy for him? Do you think that would be a quality way to attack this Pacers team?
Well, if we're going to talk about, sorry, what was your question? Before you kind of lost me. You asked
There's
2 questions.
2 questions. One, is this Pacers team one that is apt to continually pick up full court?
So the full court question, it depends on the situation. I don't think we're going to do it at the start. It definitely depends if Andrew Nembhard. I think we had to do that last season because Jalen Brunson was cooking Andrew Nembhard in his first playoffs. But Andrew Nembhard is a better defender this year. If he played enough games, he would definitely be an all defensive selection. But he missed a couple of games with injury. So did so did Aaron Nesmith, and that's why the Pacers kind of struggled at the start of the year. I think we started the season 10 and 15. But we usually go pick up full court and get into those traps when we're in a deficit, and that really showed in the Bucks and Cleveland series. Now, your second question, I think, about how can the Knicks attack the Pacers, maybe.
Well, yeah, would it be so for example, instead of having Jalen Brunson try and use energy, because It is going to be, like we keep mentioning, an exhausting series. I think both of these teams are going to fight tooth and nail. We saw how physical it was when it came to rebounding last year. I would expect a very similar degree this year. And with the pace that the Pacers can play at times, Jalen Brunson, you're asking a ton out of him if you're trying to have him break down the defense, get past this full court 94 feet pickup every single time and playing 40 minutes. Do you think it would be an effective strategy for the Knicks to perhaps have like a Josh Hart, Miles McBride, a Mikal Bridges bring up the ball at times to get the ball out of Brunson's hand to save that energy and then have him do a little bit of off ball? Do you think that would be something that the Knicks should explore?
Yeah, that's something. And definitely the Knicks should definitely try to hunt Tyrese Halliburton on defense. That's what the Celtics did in the Eastern Conference Finals last year against the Pacers, and they hunted Tyrese Halliburton. They tried to go after his left hamstring, and that eventually gave out, and he missed games 3 and 4. Now, the player on the Knicks specifically that might have the most opportunities at going after Tyrese Halliburton, because if you go against Tyrese, and that's a strategy too, if you go against Tyrese, that kind of puts energy on our offensive engine to guard. So the Pacers, probably when they come out, in their defensive matchups, they'll probably put Tyrese Halliburton on Josh Hart because he's probably the least offensive guy on the stuff. That's where they're going to, quote-unquote, hide him, even though Tyrese has had a better defensive performance in these playoffs compared to last year. Andrew Nembhard will probably get the start on Jalen Brunson. He's guarded the best defender, the best player in this playoff so far, and Rick Carlisle is not going to make that change unless he has to, like he did last year, where Aaron Neesmith and even TJ McConnell was guarding Brunson after games too. You have probably Neesmith on Mikal Bridges. You have OG. You have Pascal guarding OG, and you have Miles Turner guarding Karl-Anthony Towns. Now you mentioned
so no real cross matching to begin the series, at least. You think?
That's probably going to be the defensive matchups for the Pacers. Now you mentioned energy, right? Mm-hmm. And one of the reasons why I kind of prefer playing against this Knicks team compared to last year's Knicks team is because two guys in the Knicks series last year that gave us fits is Isaiah Hartenstein and Dante DiVincenzo, who's no longer on the team. And I think, Paul, in the group text, you mentioned they would be good in the hood. Or I said they would be good in the hood. Because the thing is, Karl-Anthony Towns, he has the size, he has the skill set to dominate, but he relies on his jumper too much. He doesn't use his size and get physical. And you even have Caesar in the chat last week say he kind of wishes that Mitchell Robinson is started and they can have a 2 big lineup because they're not physical enough, and they don't even shoot. If you look in the playoffs, they don't really shoot a good percentage. I mean, it is a decent percentage, but it's in the bottom half. In fact, the bottom 3 of field goal percentage within 5 feet. I think they shoot under 60%, which is not good. It's within 5 feet. You're an NBA player. Put that in there. But Isaiah Hartenstein was really big for the offensive rebounds, and that's what kind of hurt the Pacers because we would try to leak out and use our pace, use our speed to get in stuff, but we were giving second chance opportunities to the Knicks, and that's why it was a series. Also, Dante DiVincenzo was a 43% shooter from 3 last year. He was awesome. Lights out. Now, he's not on the team. Now, maybe that guy that takes the spot is Mikal Bridges, who's shooting around 33%. So that's a 10% difference in 3 points. And, as they say, 3 is bigger than 2, and you're going to need those baskets, and you're going to need those points.
Yeah. So I'll say this. As I was thinking about this series, I think about it more and more, and it feels like the Pacers almost are this fun, perfect mixture of the Knicks' first 2-round series where they have the grittiness, the toughness, the kind of stick-to-itiveness that the Pistons have in round 1. The one that it makes you have to battle tooth and nail. It feels like war when you're out there. But man, oh man, does this Pacers offense scare me because it wasn't as good during the regular season as it was last year, but I think that was asking a lot of what I thought was a historic Pacers offense last year. Seems like they're getting back to that during the postseason. And with that being said, the Knicks, during the Celtics series, part of their strategy was to rely on non-shooters, on their non-elite shooters ending up having off nights. And to the Knicks' credit, they ended up working out. Kristaps Porzingis was not as good as he normally is, obviously dealing with some illnesses. Drew Holiday not as automatic from the corners as he typically is and whatnot. But something that really concerns me about this Pacers team is, or I guess as a Knicks fan, is the amount of guys that shoot above 36% from three-point range. And that's like 36% is where I kind of set the bar for a quality, like a high-quality three-point shooter. During this postseason, Andrew Nembhard, Aaron Nesmith, Pascal Siakam, and Miles Turner all are shooting above 36% from three on at least 20 attempts. Now, I set the number at 20 attempts because I think small sample size, you can make arguments for other guys. Tyrese Halliburton, you'll notice, isn't on that list. That's going to be a question, I suppose, as well, because Halliburton is somebody who is going to be willing to fire from deep. He's going to. If he's hitting, the Knicks are going to be in trouble. If he's not hitting, the Knicks will be in a better shot. But that's one of the real X factors that I'm looking at is the Pacers' shooting ability in this series. Like, does Andrew Nembhard, who shot, I think, like 29-30% this season from three, is he still going to shoot 50% from three? He's 22 of 44 from long distance in the playoffs. Does he continue that? And I would imagine the question similarly, does Josh Hart continue shooting threes? And if he does he continue making threes like he has for the Knicks? Kind of what are some of the areas that you worry about as you enter this series?
Well, you mentioned Andrew Nembhard on his shooting performance. And Andrew Nembhard, yeah, he didn't shoot well from three during the regular season, but he has kind of proven to be a playoff riser. And you got to witness that last year when he made that three, the prayer
in game
three,
three.
And that changed the series because, Knicks were in position to go up 3-0 in that series. My thing and you mentioned Tyrese Halliburton firing and shooting. Yes, he hasn't been shooting a great percentage from three. In fact, in that Bucks closeout game, I think he made 1 3 and then he was making bricks. I think he shot 25% from three in that game 5 against the Bucks, but he did eventually start getting to the rim, and he was getting to the rim against Giannis. And if teams are trying to let Halliburton get to the rim and trying to test him there, the Pacers will rock with that because they are the best catch and shoot team in the playoffs. I think they shoot nearly 50%. Karl Anthony Towns isn't really known as being a rim protector. So that's where it's going to be. One of the things that does concern me about the Pacers, about the Knicks, though, is their wing defenders and their strategy with OG Anunoby, Mikal Bridges, and Josh Hart. Now, last year, the Pacers really only had to deal with Josh Hart as a defender because OG was partially hampered and Mikal Bridges wasn't on his team. So that's where the Knicks can get the Pacers is if they just make this to the slogfest and they have the ability to switch everything. If we put either maybe Nesmith or Pascal Siakam in the action. Now the one guy that can make the Knicks pay is Andrew Nembhard, and if Andrew Nembhard has a great series because he's the creator and he's that connector or the person you can dump it off to, then Knicks are in trouble. You mentioned earlier about the Knicks winning. This is the first time they won a closeout game at home in your lifetime. The Knicks did not have a great record in the past couple years. I don't know what it is before in closeout games. They had an opportunity, I think, against.
They always take at least one game when they have the opportunity to try and close it out.
So that's probably the biggest concern. But if the Knicks can close it out, if they are in position, then kudos to them. But I think the Pacers, they need to win it in 6. I don't know if they can win Game 7 on the road again as they did last year.
That's fair. Going to have to step aside for our last break, but when we come back, I want to ask you what the Pacers got to do to win this series. I'll give what I'm looking for from the Knicks, and we can give our predictions. I know that's a big thing, but it'll be the way we close things out here on Wake Up in the Den. You're listening to the WWE Smackdown between Paul Brecht and Michael Oscaro. The Knicks and the Pacers Eastern Conference Finals. Thanks for tuning in. We'll be right back on 95.1 FM, AM 760, and HawaiiSportsRadio.com.
Dial
Let's go.
Wake Up in the Den with Ku'ulei Agbayani on the Hawai'i Sports Radio Network, 95.1 FM and AM 760.
Back here on Wake Up in the Den with Paul Brecht, Michael Lascaro, and Ku'ulei Agbayani sitting in my usual chair. Thanks so much for joining us this and every Monday live on our YouTube channel. It's been pretty fun. Sorry, just got a funny text from my wife. Remind me to give you guys that story after this.
Oh, shout out Morgan. Her favorite player is Obi Toppin on the Pacers.
True. This is true. My wife is going to be a little bit split during this series because when we first got together, Obi Toppin was her favorite player on the Knicks. Actually, you can't see it, but if you can see my watch face, you'd be able to see that it's still a picture of Obi Toppin throwing down a dunk. That's more just because I'm incapable of changing things without like actual force. Either way, we're talking Knicks Pacers and kind of been talking about the things that have been worrying us, things that our teams do well, all of the different sides of this matchup. But with a little less than 10 minutes to go, Michael, I want to turn it over to you and just give you the floor for a couple of minutes to talk about the Pacers win this series if. And that's
you're not going to get the floor back, Paul. What are you doing? I'm just kidding.
I'll give the floor back
I'm
to
just
Paul.
kidding.
But I feel like I've talked more.
But that's where I want to go with the conversation, and I'll do the same for the Knicks. But the Pacers win this series if, and I will just leave it there for you.
The Pacers will win this series if they win a game in New York. That's that's the truth. I do. So I am fully prepared for the Pacers to lose Game 1. And that's because all show long I've been talking about trends and records. And unfortunately, there is a Indiana Pacers podcaster. His name is Michael J. Facci of Setting the Pace, and he is 0-17 in games that he attends. He's based out of Northeast. I think that includes the Lakers game where LeBron got the tip at the buzzer.
Oh man.
And that also includes a road loss to the Washington Wizards. The Wizards. That's how you know the streak. He's 0-17, and his friend that's a Knicks fan bought him tickets. So he's going to go to the game, and if the Pacers lose Game 1, that is why, fans of the podcast are even begging him not to go.
I was going to say, I would like kidnap him if I was a Pacers fan. I'd like tie him up, and you're not going to any games, brother.
Yeah. But the Pacers, they need to win this game in 6. That's the main thing, because I don't think the Pacers can win Game 7 on the road. But who knows? They could. But again, the Knicks have not won a game in the field house. But if the Knicks do win a game in the Pacers arena, or wins a game when Caitlin Clark's in attendance, that's when I will have legitimate concerns.
I think that's fair. I just don't see this series being over in anything less than 6 games. I think this is going to be an absolute war. And what scares me about that with the Knicks is that we saw last year what happens when the bodies break down. We saw last year what happens that, the Knicks can compete against this Pacers team with just 7, but you need to have the right 7. If Precious Achiuwa all of a sudden has to take OG Anunoby's spot once again, that's not what you want. Is Mitchell Robinson able to continue to play at the level at which he has been playing? Do the Knicks play a double big lineup against this Pacers team? Can that double big lineup be effective? Is Karl Anthony Towns still scoring at the level that he was against the Pacers during the regular season? Can Jalen Brunson be Jalen Brunson? There are a lot of questions that I have for the Knicks. You said it before. The Knicks, in my opinion, have the more talented starting 5 on paper. But I think I would go that the Pacers have the better team. Just I would take the depth of Indiana over, I think, anyone other than Oklahoma City in the league. Just in terms of the depth of the ability to play high-quality NBA players over and over again. The Knicks win this series if Karl Anthony Towns and Jalen Brunson play like all NBA players. If they do that, the Knicks will win this series because I do believe they have the ability to win games on the road. It's not easy. Indiana, especially in the playoffs, has been a fortress. But it's a place where if you believe in the clutch player of the year in Jalen Brunson, if you believe in the reason that you made the switch of Karl Anthony Towns for Julius Randle and Dante DiVincenzo, those are the two that get you over the hump, get you into the finals for the first time since 1999, beat the Pacers for the first time in a playoff series since 1999. It's because of that. I will say one X factor that I'm looking at is how big of an offensive impact does OG Anunoby have in this series? So much talk about his defense, and for good reason. He's phenomenal on the defensive end. But can he take advantage of matchups that, does Tyrese Halliburton get switched on to him? Can you see OG using his strength there to score? Does he hit from three-point range at the clip in which the Knicks need him to, or does he shoot only like 30%? Him and Mikal Bridges, I think you laid it out perfectly. They might be the biggest X factor for the Knicks in this series. So now with just about a little over 2 minutes left, I will ask you, my friend, give me your prediction for the Eastern Conference Finals as our teams go at it. The Pacers, the opportunity to get back to the finals for the first time since 2000.
Oh, it's Pacers in 6. I think every fan, every podcaster, everybody that has interest in the Pacers are picking the Pacers in 6, and that's what it's gonna be. And and I'll throw in another one. I think the Pacers will lose game 1 just because of the fact that Michael J. Fauci's at the game. But I do want to say, you mentioned Deuce McBride, Mitchell Robinson. I think one thing that scares me about the Knicks is if Tom Thibodeau actually manages his roster and his lineup well, because there are some legit players on the bench, like Landry Shamet, Cameron Payne. You even have a veteran in PJ Tucker that has won a championship. So and Deuce McBride, I don't see his number called as much as he did last year. So there are legitimate players on the Knicks bench, and they can give the Knicks quality minutes if they're trying to match our minutes. So that's the one thing that I think, if Tom Thibodeau manages his lineups better, and if the Knicks win on the road, then I'm very terrified.
I like that point by you a lot, because the Knicks do have more depth than people realize. That depth sometimes can be a little bit wishy-washy, which is why I say how much I like the Pacers' depth. It feels like you know what you're getting from your top 8 guys and the ceiling of what you can get from the 3 guys after that. Those are pretty high as well. I don't want this series to go to 7. I think it's Knicks in 6. And the reason I think it's Knicks in 6 is because of those first 2 series preparing them so much. I think last year we saw the Pacers, how great they can be. And I think, realistically speaking, the Knicks underestimated them last year. I don't think that will be the case this year. And if that is the case, if the Knicks are as good as I truly believe they are, this is the window for them. What's cool, this is the window for all 4 teams. We're going to get a new champion, somebody who hasn't won a championship in at least 52 years. That's the last time the New York Knicks won a title. The other 3 left have never won a title in their franchise's history. Pretty fun stuff.
So what you're saying is nobody in this room have seen this team's won a championship.
Correct.
Yay, cool.
10. It was fun. I appreciate you being so cordial and fun. But for Ku'ule Agbayani, Michael Lascaro, I'm Paul Breck. Thanks for listening. Bye.
Home of the Los Angeles Clippers, KGU.